Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Pokemon 151 and the long-term investment and how I personally think it's going to perform, just judging on kind of my Pokemon knowledge and being in the community for such a long time and just investing myself. In my opinion, it's a really cool set. Even though it's pretty overhyped and they did a lot with it. I think it was really well done. I think they were kind of geniuses with their marketing strategy with it. They kind of had a little bit of a phase where I think people kind of, I wouldn't say that they went out of the TCG, but I think after the COVID hype, some people kind of like, oh yeah, this is cool. And I think 151 got all those people and those new fans that they got, and they brought them back in for another wave. Which I think was really good. So they were really smart with how they did it. I think the timing of the release was really good. But I want to really go into the set, like talk about how investable is it, or like will there be a future with it? Obviously, I don't know these things guaranteed, but just judging on things and just how I think Pokemon works as a whole, I'll just be giving my 2 cents, and definitely, I'd like to know your thoughts. So, like I said, it's a new channel, so please subscribe. And hopefully, you enjoy the content. But I just want to go over to start off with, before going into pricings, the availability of it. In Australia, it is available, but you're going to find it hard to get below retail price. In Australia, I'll put the conversion rate for US. I'm not sure how US or Canada or, England or anywhere is doing. But in Australia, we're looking at around $100 for an ETB. And the premium collection you can get for $200. Don't know how that's going. Don't know how available the ETBs are everywhere else. You can find deals maybe on Amazon for $90 Australian. It's definitely not a set that you can just pick up cheap. You're going to be paying retail price, which is quite interesting. But it's still available. So if you do want to pay retail price, you can still get it quite easily. A quick Google search, you'll be able to find it. So the availability is still there. But for the ETBs and the UPCs. The booster bundle, however, that's going to be quite hard to find for retail. And I think you're going to have to pay a little bit higher to get the booster bundle. I want to talk about the artwork because, I'm really passionate about the artwork. I love Pokemon investing because I see it as like a little bit of an art collecting. It's particularly with some of the full arts that they've done and how they're doing it. I really think they're really well done. First off, when I'm talking about the 151 or the original 151 Pokemon, I think they're really cool. I think just looking at them now, they're cool. Like, I'm looking at the Bulbasaur, the Ivysaur, the Venusaur EX. They really did. These are just the basic cards. They're not really the collectibles, but I love the style that they did. Really cool, really unique as well. I think they put their own little twist on it. They have this weird reminiscent to base set without feeling like it's like an updated base set, I suppose. But when we look at, I suppose the big ones that we want to talk about, especially when we're going into this, is the special illustration rares. And obviously they're going to be the ones that the chase cards of the set. When I'm looking at the secret rares or the illustration rares, these are so well done in my opinion. They really did a good job here. I think it's so, even though you might have a little thing where you've been overexposed to it, the artworks and how they look all together is just incredible. Like, I'm checking this out, from the Bulbasaur to the Ivysaur, the Charmander. They all tell a story as well. I just love it. I think they really did a great. I don't know if Caterpie as well is still short printed. Someone can let me know. I don't know if that was a rumor or not, but people were saying that the Caterpie was short printed. But no, they did such a great job with the artworks, and I think that goes to show why it was so hard and why there was so much demand for this product, and still is. Just really well done. They've got some, especially the Tangela, just creative kind of set, and that is what kind of makes the difference, I think, in a long-term investment vehicle. But when looking at it, and particularly going into what I want to go into is the special illustration rares. These are hard to pull, but nothing like insanely hard to pull like we saw with Chilling Reign or, the Sword and Shield era. But they are definitely hard to pull. I opened, a whole booster, what was it, like over 100 packs I think I opened, and I pulled the Alakazam and the Venusaur. And that was all I saw really from these. So, you know, the pull rates are quite difficult, but got to talk about it. They really nailed it. Like I'm looking here, like when we're looking at the Venusaur, probably not just if I'm looking at the art, I think Blastoise and Charizard got a bit of a better deal. Going into it, and what I want to talk about, why I think this is a good set, and particularly just as a investment vehicle, why I think 151 will do good, is because when we think of Pokemon as a whole, or when we think of any kind of medium, whether it's Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, whatever, you have your golden era or your golden kind of poster child, which brings back and keeps the fans knowing. Whereas, for example, if we talk about the original Pokemon 151, you're pulling in fans from such a long time ago. They all know it. People that aren't even in Pokemon recognize a lot of the 151. When you go into deeper generations, you will have people that know them, but it won't be this thing. It's kind of like Dragon Ball Z with Super Saiyan. Everyone knows Super Saiyan. When you go into the kind of intricacies of Dragon Ball Z, maybe they won't know it. Everyone knows Blue Eyes White Dragon and Dark Magician. 151 is that. So in terms of the long-term investability, I think because of what it is in terms of Pokemon and the status of it, I'm not sure about the printing. I do know it wasn't that easy to get as well. I remember on release day, I had to call a few places and everyone was like going crazy about it. So I don't think it's that easy to get on release. To be honest, I haven't really dived into it much after release, but I just want to look over it now and look at some prices. So really interesting one here, which is the Mew EX 151 165. This one was, I remember I really wanted this on release. I was trying to pull it, no luck, but man, that had a really, really deep crash. Let's just pull it to the 6-month timeline. And you can see that it started at 16 US and it went down quite significantly. And now you can get it for a nice kind of pricing. The crash, I'm not sure, as a collectible, it's probably not one of the most highly collectible, but just still in the set, I thought it was really cool artwork, and I love the artwork on how the kind of had the bubbles, and it just feels like it pops out. They really did a cool job with it. But yeah, no, you had a pretty deep crash, so it's a really pretty cheap card to pick up at the moment. But when we look at the booster bundles as well, something really interesting happened here, because these are just, in Australia, these are hard to find. I did remember that when I went to a retailer to buy it, he told me when I was there, I was like, oh, look, I want to get a booster bundle because it's the kind of the cheapest cost per pack ratio. And he said that the distributors pretty much didn't even give them the stock that they wanted. They ordered way more than they asked for, and they didn't even get the stock delivery. So there was a real issue in Australia with these. Over the world, I'm not sure, but they are the cheapest kind of cost per pack ratio. But we can see even here, they kind of had that little bump at the start, and then they've kind of dropped and leveled out. When we're going on to the UPC, or the Ultra Premium Collection, kind of was, I think, a scarcity thing of like, oh, how's it going to be? How's it going to go? From release, kind of did this thing. It traveled all the way, and now we can see with the after the pre-orders, it's kind of leveled out. And these are really easy to get. They're in abundance, but then again, you are paying quite a lot for each pack. You get 16 packs in the UPC, and they cost, $200 dues, 200. You get a lot in the pack, and they cost 200 Australian. I'll figure out the maths in the edit suite later, but the cost per pack is definitely higher than like buying a booster bundle or an ETB. Now, in terms of the actual, the special illustration cards and how I think they'll perform, I just want to go into Charizard and let's look over at how it's going at the moment and where I think it's going to go, and I'll go into it. So, really interesting thing happened. Now, what's been happening, especially in the Scarlet and Violet era, is that cards aren't having this crazy high point when on release, if you don't get it, we've seen this with the Miriam and the Iono, they've kind of leveled out. Whereas with 151, something really interesting, I really didn't expect this. And this one took me by surprise, that the cards, as you can see here, the Charizard, went all the way and it's kind of went and shot up. And to be honest, it's kind of maintained a nice price range for where it was kind of originally meant to be. I think it's doing really well, and I think it's kind of held its value and held its ground. Then again, it is Charizard. It is the other than Pikachu. I mean, you could probably put Charizard on the same level as Pikachu in terms of the popularity. Nearly every kid, every adult loves Charizard, so I'm not surprised. And it is a really cool artwork. It's It's not just something that, you know, you don't see it every day, you know, over the canyon or how he's flying. You know, he's got the moon in the background. It's really awesome. But yeah, it's held really well. And I think the chance for this one to hold will be very high, just given that it is a Charizard and it's a special set. Zapdos had a really cool one. And, you know, it went there and it dropped quite significantly from release, and it hasn't held, whereas Charizard has. So pretty interesting there. And then we got Alakazam, which, like, come on, how can you not love that artwork? That is just so... I remember when I saw that before the release, I was like, man, Alakazam is gonna nail it. Like, they did so well on this one. I really love it. It's probably one of my favorite cards in the set. But again, the pricing doesn't really reflect... You know, it didn't have too much crazy highs. Like, it started at 45 US, and now you can pick it up for 31. Dropped, you know, nothing crazy. It's a $15 drop, but, you know, I'm surprised that this card wasn't, you know, a 60, 70 US dollar card, or, you know, I really thought that it was gonna go much higher than that. So that one also took me by surprise. And of course, then we have all the ETBs. Now, the ETBs, I think, are your best bet in terms of if you are going to hold onto a product. It's kind of, you're paying, you know, around 9 Australian to 10 Australian a pack. And, you know, you get the promo card in it as well. Promo card's okay. Nothing crazy. It's just, you know, chill Snorlax card. But no, I definitely think, pricing-wise, you can still get it. If you can hold on to these, I definitely think that there would be a nice chance that these could... you know, I do think the 151 has a, you know, given how Celebrations has performed, you know, give it time and we could see some really cool things. But I want to go into some of the areas where I think that are not spoken about enough in terms of where we think. Now, with modern cards, we have such a high pop reports. So when we look at vintage, kids were playing with them in that, you know, you had your cards, you pulled your Charizard, you pulled your Blastoise, you know, be in your pocket. Even 10 years ago, cards that are pulled weren't really kept always in pristine condition. Now we're in a bit of a different, the paradigm shifted. People open their packs, they put them straight into sleeve, straight into top loader, and they are stored, you know, very, very carefully. So we have card preservation has gone up. Also, grading has gone up. People send their cards. So the abundance of stock that's going to be available of these cards will be higher than previous generations. So we can't maybe expect that these cards are going to really hold. Like when you look at a Plasma Storm Charizard or a or Stormbreaker Charizard, for example, these cards are hitting, you know, over $15,000 in value in PSA 10. These aren't going to get there simply because people are more aware of it. You had a very small amount of people looking after these cards, protecting them so well. Now a lot of people know the value of their cards. So, you know, but what we do have to look at, where I think is really important, is the percentage of PSA 10s versus how much they're sent in. When we're looking at Charizard EX here, you can see 4,811 have been sent as of today, and 1,563 have came back a PSA 10, 2,450 or 69 have come back a PSA 9. That to me shows that your chance of striking a 10 isn't that high. You're much more likely to get a 9, meaning that the 10 is going to be quite better as the investment than the 9, given the fact that if it's scarcity, it is a little bit harder to grade, which is kind of rare. This is kind of weird. And not only that, when we look at even the Blastoise here, or I mean, if you can see these figures here, we've got 643 here, 859 versus 859 PSA 10s versus 1,313 PSA 9s. Same thing here, 738 PSA 10s for the Zapdos and 1,070 PSA 9s. These are hard to grade. Like, this Pokemon doesn't usually have this problem. They usually have like a higher PSA 10 than 9. So there is a bit of a quality control issue on these that I think is not getting spoken about, and that will kind of help drive that price and maybe in the future keep it high. Reason being is no matter how many you send in, if you're just getting 9s, that is an unfortunate kind of, you know, you really want modern to be 10. You don't want to be having 9s in, unless they're purely collectible. Hey, for sure, keep them at 9. Why not? You still got the card, it's still in a protective case. And obviously 9s are still really, really good cards. I mean, you know, it's very hard to tell the difference between a 9 and a 10. But no, I think if we're looking at it like over it, I do think the singles in PSA 10 will be really good. I think especially if the hobby continues to grow, and people jump in at the hobby, and especially if Pokemon release more things to bring people in or new hype comes in. When looking back in hindsight, I think some of these cards, especially the 151s, are going to be quite wanted. But of course, I would definitely say PSA 10 for these is the way to go. I think sealed will be hot, particularly the fact that you can only get it at in Australia particularly, you can only get it at retail. Will that continue to grow? Will the demand? We always see sealed perform well. It's so common for sealed to do well in the long term. It is. It really is. It really just has this thing that it takes a lot of self-control not to open product. People always want to know what's inside. It has that mystery component. I think sealed will do good. I think the nostalgia is something we cannot dismiss. The golden era. I think Pokemon their marketing team and the way they did it was incredible. They knew the hype. They rode the hype. They had all the Evolving Skies chilling around. They did so well in the Sword and Shield era. And then they said, hey, you know what? We're going to now drop 151 to bring all you people back that came in from base set. You came in during COVID. We've noticed you've calmed down and we're going to bring you back in. I think that it was a really, really perfect storm that they did, given the fact that it was a golden era, really good. And as always, this is all speculative. So, I can't tell you if they're going to continue to rise. I can't tell you if there's going to be reprints. We're still in very, very early days with it. Reprint territory is guaranteed. It's not out of print. So, it's much more of a long-term hold, I would say. But of course, we don't know how it's going to go, and we don't know how it's performed. But, I have to admit, just as this personal experience, opening 151 has been one of the most fun sets to open in a very long time. Pull rates could have been a little bit better. Just probably I'd rate it, I loved opening Crown Zenith because you hit. With these, you do, the hit rates are a little bit different than what you would expect. But hey, look, that's pretty much how I think it's going to go. As always, guys, I really appreciate you watching the video, and yeah, subscribe and let me know in comments down below what you think. Tell me where you think the 151 is going to go. I'd love to know how you think it's going to perform, judging on, and if you like the artworks as well. Like I said, I think they really nailed it. But let me know how you go, and for sure, stay tuned to the channel. Cheers for watching, guys.